Good morning, everybody. It's Lisa Rose here. For those of you that do not know me, I am the wife. Geez, it's such a hard day. The wife of Joe Rose, the mother of Destiny Austin Trinity, the godmother of five, a Beachbody coach, a CCA, but most of all, a lover of life. So the reason why I'm coming live today, I have not been feeling well the last couple days, and so I know why, and so I'm going to share to you guys why I have been sick the last few days. So, as most of you guys have been watching and know, my family has been going through a lot for the last, I guess today's day 11. My sister has literally been sitting by my grandmother's bed for 10 or 11 days straight. I think last night she finally listened to me and took a day off to rest. So because of that, when you are traveling over an hour back and forth, I literally at this moment have a bag packed for 3 or 4 days of clothes in my car. But the thing that I didn't remember was to pack proper nutrition. And because of that, when you're at the hospital, the closest thing to us was Tim Hortons. There's a Subway and I think maybe a pizza joint, maybe down the street. So when you're going through something like this, generally, you need to have money in the bank, right? Because going to coffee, you're not just getting your coffee, you're getting everybody that's sitting around the hospital with you coffee. So I think it was costing us like $10 or $12 a trip to go to Tim Hortons. And just to go to Starbucks for 2 coffees was $10. So if you don't have rainy day savings set aside for an emergency such as this, I'm telling you, I'll be honest with you guys, in 2 days, of traveling back and forth to the hospital between gas and running to Tim Hortons, and picking up a couple of outfits because my poor stepmother ended up with no clothes. She drove over 3.5 hours and just rushed to get there because of the situation and had no clothes. So between that, in 2 days, I went through over $200. So if my husband wasn't a saver, I don't know what we would have done because we try to live without credit cards. So when emergencies come, it's not only important to have, an emergency bag of clothes in case you have to run somewhere, but it's also important to have emergency funds. And I know nowadays life is so hard and it is so hard to save money, but it will make all the difference of the stress level for you in regards to dealing with this. So this week alone, last week I spent 4 days down there traveling. I stayed down there overnight, and then I went down Friday night, Saturday night, came home Sunday, and now I'm just waiting for the phone call that says you need to come now. But most importantly, what happened was, although my husband's a saver and we had some rainy day savings, and I had my bag packed, what I didn't take with me was the proper nutrition. And what ended up happening, and what is still happening, is, and one of the reasons why I'm wearing sweater, is I broke out in hives. I cannot eat gluten. I cannot eat pork. I don't deal well with dairy. When you go to Tim Hortons, it's either drink your coffee black, which I'm not there yet. I've tried, or you're drinking milk in your coffee. So just that little bit of milk in my coffee caused a huge ripple effect in my stomach. I've been lethargic. I broke out in hives. I've been sick for the last few days because I didn't plan the proper nutrition. Now, normally, on a normal week when everything is good, I meal prep, I would have food in there. And the first night, Tuesday night, when I went down, I actually had salads and chicken and stuff that I could eat packed. But going forward, I didn't prepare myself. And you know what? The city where my sister lives, there's tons of health food options up there. There is tons. But again, it boils back to having that emergency fund money to be able to run out to those restaurants, to drive the extra distance from the hospital. Because legit, around a hospital, even here, it's mostly fast food that's close. There's always a Tim Hortons somewhere close to the hospital. So if you don't have that prepared and ready to go, and you don't have the rainy day savings or the food packed, you're really not setting yourself up for a really good week. I mean, watching somebody die takes a ton of energy out of you. Emotionally, your body, everything is just, it takes everything out of you to sit there and watch somebody pass away. And she has been hanging on by, I don't even know what, the will of God. I can't even tell you. I think today's day 11. when she first arrived, they said we had months. By Monday last week, so 7 days ago yesterday, they said she had days. And she's still hanging on by I don't know what. And, you know, unfortunately, the reality is we're all praying that her suffering will end soon, because she is suffering and she is in a lot of pain. And so that is hard on you mentally and physically. And you may wonder why physically, because your adrenaline's constantly going. You're constantly in a stressed out mode. And when you put your body through that constant stressed out mode, it's going to get tired and you're just going to hit the wall. I have no idea how my sister, God love her, she's barely slept. I have to constantly remind her to eat. I mean, last night she messaged me for the first time being home and she was wearing a face mask. It was so cute. Her and my niece were doing facials, but it was her way of trying to be normal for one day. Because like I said, my sister's been up there every day since this all happened. And I don't know how she's doing it, because my sister suffers from anxiety and depression. So to sit there and watch her grandmother pass away in front of her, you can't even imagine. And thankfully, I have the ability to be there with her, because it's given her strength, because we feed off each other. So anyway, guys, that's kind of my message today is, you know, you need to be prepared. I know, Lord, I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And yeah, people look at me and say I work a good job. I do. But like anybody else, you have bills. I mean, it's, you know, my husband's had a hard struggle being here in Canada, because you have to pay for power, you have to pay for internet, you have to pay for this and pay for that. And in the Caribbean, you build your house, you make it so you can live in it. Even if it's a one-room little shack, you live in it, and as you have money, you keep building your house. There is no mortgage payments, there is no rent. And if you have no power, then you have a propane stove, you still can live. So it's a huge adjustment for anybody that's never lived in a country where we are so dependent on having internet and cell phones and cable and power and etc. So it is hard for us, even though people think Canadians are super rich and we have this wonderful lifestyle. It's very hard for anybody to save $1. And I am a frugal mom, and if you guys know that story or that side of me or know me from that, even myself find it hard to save money. I really rely on my husband to save majority of the money for us, because the bills that we have, that it comes in and goes out. Now, I'm grateful I have the job I have. I'm grateful I'm able to pay my bills, but it's very hard to save for something to happen. And, you know, and just FYI, for those of you that do not know or are in your 30s, it's time you start sitting down and making a funeral plan. I know that's hard. That is tough love, but here's the reality. If you have children and you are in your 30s and you have not put together or said or written it down what you want, there are no guarantees in life. We are born to die. That's the truth. The moment you take your first breath, you're already on your way to dying. So you have not planned or put thoughts into what you want for a funeral, flowers, music, do you want a celebration of life, whatever, and you have not told somebody you love or written it down. You can even go, I myself have gone to our funeral home in our town, and I have it all written down. I wanted to be buried until my dad passed away, and I realized the price. To have my dad cremated, and he's not even buried anywhere. I'm looking over that way because he's actually over on my fireplace. To have my dad cremated and to have the service at the funeral home, when all was said and done, when I had given them the amount of money I had and paid for the minister and the food was donated and I still owed over $1,000. So had my father planned, and my father was in his 60s and he didn't plan. The only thing he ever said to me was, Lisa, if I ever die, cremate me and dump me out to sea. That's what he always said, because my dad was a fisherman his whole life. So had he not had that conversation with me, he dropped dead. That's such a horrible, but my dad passed away very unexpectedly. He literally he was standing and then he was gone. Had he not had that conversation with me when my world got flipped upside down, because literally the RCMP showed up and said, your dad's passed away. Had my father not had that conversation with me, I wouldn't know what to do. So it is important, guys, the stress that your family goes through. If you're in a car accident tomorrow and they're sitting there and they're watching you struggle for life, and they're pouring out their rainy day savings for the coffee runs and the food and everything because they don't want to leave your side. If you have not made a plan for yourself, you are leaving your family under a ton of stress. So it is so important to think about that. If you're in your 30s and you have not put together a plan, honestly, most funeral homes, guys, you can go in, if you want to be buried, you can pick out your casket, you can make those arrangements, they write them down on paper. The moment you die, your family says, oh, I think we're using this funeral home. They send you that way, they find your file, and it's taken care of. Your family don't have to do anything other than write your obituary if you have not already done it yourself. Take the stress off your family. Honestly, guys, if you are in 30s and you have children, take that stress away from your children. Your children may only be 10 years old. And then who does it land on, right? Like, those are thoughts you need to put together. And the cost of funeral. Now, in Canada, we get a $2,500 credit, but somebody has to pay for your funeral up front and apply for that credit. People think that it automatically goes. Funeral homes won't do nothing for you until they have their money or know where their money's coming from. So, food for thought, guys. Be prepared. You never know. Like I said, right now I'm prepared. I got my Shakeology, my cup, my clothes for 4 days in case I get the phone call. I need to come right away. And I'm going to tell you, the gentleman that was in the room next to my grandmother, he was given hours. The man fought, and you could hear every breath. Like, he struggled for every breath. He fought for 2 days. His daughters and his sons did not leave his bedside for 2 days straight, unless they needed to get something to eat, and they had what they call a sitter at the hospital that would sit in with him. So you just never know. They could give me the call and say it's hours away and I need to leave and run right up there, but you never know. And now the funeral, and she's 88 and the family's still trying to figure out what she wanted. So that's what I'm saying, guys. If you're in your 30s and you have children, it is time to put a plan together. Put it down to the funeral home. Nobody needs to know, but have that put together so your family isn't sitting there struggling to figure out every little detail that you would have wanted. It's better for you to do it. It's there. It's peace of mind for you that your family will not be going under a lot of stress because they didn't know what you wanted or the cost and like I said, just even sitting in a hospital, guys, you're spilling out money for coffee. Tim Hortons is probably making a fortune off people near the hospital that she's at, to be honest with you, because that's really all there is there. So anyway, guys, that's what I'm going to leave it at. Put some food and thought into your future, and whether that's, your funeral or rainy day savings for emergencies such as like this, it is so important to do that for you and for your family, because like I said, if my husband didn't have rainy day savings put away, I would be under way more stress than I have been this week. And I think that's probably one of the things that's happening, is that I have literally spread myself a little too thin this week, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Just so you're clear on that, I would not change anything for the world, because my sister is my best friend, and that's the most important thing for me, to be there when she needs me. So anyway, guys, take care, enjoy your Wednesday, and until then, much love. Bye.